Okay, review for the benefit of any first timers and the rest of us as well. What book are we studying here? James, written by which James most likely? The what?
Brother of Jesus.
The what? Half-brother.
Brother of Jesus.
Yeah, you got most of it right. Yeah. James, the half-brother of Jesus. What's it typically, how is it typically thought of, the book? How is it typically thought of?
Help us,
I'm sorry?
a help us book.
A helper book, helping book, a book about practical Christianity. A lot of folks say, there's no doctrine in it. That's not entirely correct. We're going to find as we continue going through here that there are several direction type statements made. Several things they are told, do this. So to me, that sounds a little bit like some doctrine. Might not always be written as deeply as we see in Paul's epistles, but there are instructions in there. Let's see, what other questions should I ask in terms of review? Somebody want to throw something out that... Okay, nobody's going to throw anything out, so we'll just keep everything, and I'll throw out something then. Trials, first couple of verses, what was his first instruction to them? Count it all joy. And count, we realized, or we looked at and decided that another word we could put in there would be consider. Give some thought to things. When we're faced with these trials, don't just go start complaining, but let's give some thought to them. Why? We learn to be patient. Another word for similar to patient that really fits better here is, I'm sorry, over here. Yeah, that'll be one. Long suffering, steadfastness. Patience is with people. Remember, the P's go together. Okay, with circumstances, long suffering. Look at those. If you have the resources, and honestly, all I've got's like 3, maybe 4. Greek type dictionary books or Greek dictionary type books. And the words are different for patience and long suffering. So in what we're seeing here, the word means long suffering. The word translates to long suffering. I think I gave it to you a couple of weeks ago. It's macrothumia, and those of you who know the difference between micro and macro quickly figured out. Okay, enough on that. From time to time, I'm going to throw some of the language at you. Guess I better be careful with my language, huh? But I'm going to share some of that because I think there are times when we get back into it and see how was it originally recorded, we're going to see that it's probably a lot deeper than we think if we just go through in the English versions. So, just a thought. All right, somebody turn, not everybody turn, because we're going to move on in this chapter. We're going to move through... let me see if there's anything I don't want to skip, though, as we move on. Oh. if you lack wisdom, what are you supposed to do? And what's the condition here?
Without doubting.
Okay. What are we doing without doubting? Asking God, who gives freely and liberally to those who ask. If we ask without doubting, the without doubting part, tough part, isn't it? You know, so what's that say about our prayers in general, though? You know, we can be, the specific here is, if you lack wisdom, ask God who gives freely, but the condition is you have to ask with faith. So when we pray for something, shouldn't we be expecting, as long as we ask in accordance with God's will, of course? I think that's covered elsewhere by somebody else. You know, let's not be asking for something ridiculous and frivolous and all that. So, but ask in faith. Everybody turn now to Job chapter 34. Why are we going back there? Because as we move on in this book, in this chapter even, there's something important here. I'm going to begin, let's see. Dan, I'll put you on the spot. You covered Job here not long ago, right? Or a little. Remember the times when Job's friends came to him and presented all sorts of different arguments and all that? Those of us who were here, you recall that kind of thing went on? Among those arguments is what we can find in chapter 34. And I want to go back to down to about verse 18 and find a good reader to read the next several verses. I guess if I'd been more thoughtful about things, I'd have had a slide for this, but it's good for us to turn the pages for ourselves too. So, Job 34, begin with about verse 18. Who's a good reader here? Okay, Josh has the first. All right, go for it. 18, and I'll tell you when to stop.
Who says to a king, worthless one, and to nobles, wicked man? Who shows no partiality to princes, nor regards the rich more than the poor? For they are all the work of his hands. In a moment they die. At midnight the people are shaken and pass away, and the mighty are taken away by no human hand. For his eyes are on the ways of a man, and he sees all his steps. There is no gloom or deep darkness where evildoers may hide themselves. For God has no need to consider a man further, that he should go before God in judgment. He shatters the mighty without investigation, and sets others in their place. Thus, knowing their works, he overturns them in the night, and they are crushed.
That's probably far enough. What kind of picture do you get here? Something that I'm sure you've read ahead in this chapter, and the next one as well. What's going to be coming up? All right. Justice?
Without partiality.
Okay. Why do you think, and it's going to be a why do we think, a little bit of speculation. We've already observed that many of the things James writes in here, we see in somebody else's lessons in the New Testament. And who was that somebody else? Christ. Yeah. Why do you think that this might be that these statements that James is about to make may have come from earlier years in the presence of Jesus. Does it make sense? Does it make sense that that James would have had some other source of information and teaching from Jesus than just what he saw or heard in the 3.5 years? You know, as I read this and looked back and found this passage, I said, they grew up together. One of them clearly had an advantage in terms of knowledge and knowledge and wisdom. You know, I taught my younger brothers some things, not all of which were good. I taught them how to ride up on the handlebar when somebody else is pedaling the bike. Didn't always work out well, you know. Come down a hill in, we lived in the northwestern Pennsylvania area at that time, and there was this neat hill that came down and out down to where we lived. So there were two of us who were a little bit older than the others, and some of the neighbors had kids about our age, and we met them at the top of the hill, and they said, "Hey, we're going home. You want to ride?" "No." "Okay." So I showed my brother how to get on there. We went down the hill. Guess who was outside? Dad. Wasn't really impressed with what I had taught, helped my brother learn how to do, but that was not the worst of the things. All right, so it seems to me very reasonable to think that there were these conversations among Jesus and his half-siblings. Gary.
No.
I can end it right there.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to say, being a half-brother and around him and his dad while they were working, probably gave him 30 years of observation versus just 33 or 3.
So when we go through James and we see these things that are clearly stated in the Sermon on the Mount or elsewhere, just think about it. Think about it. Just don't turn pages. Read it. Think about it. Okay? All right. So there was that, and I'm sure there are other places we could go, probably in the wisdom literature. Yes, sir.
Just a thought. John tells us in John 7 that during the earthly ministry of Jesus, that his brothers did not believe him to be the Christ. And yes, they probably did hear much of his teaching and things like the Sermon on the Mount, but they didn't believe him to be the Christ until after the resurrection.
Until after, and then he was trying to get this across. So, you know, I find myself doing that. The older I get, the more I think about earlier things, and they come back and they hit me, and I said, wow, if I'd have paid more attention to that. So, anyway, look into things. Don't just turn the pages as we read this. We're going to talk about verse 9 and verse 10, two different groups. The lowly brother, you know, not all of us, we don't all share the same backgrounds, current circumstances, and all that. But he divides it into two groups. Maybe we'd call it now the haves and the have-nots. I don't know how we would put it, but maybe. And within this group, you know, we talk to people and among the men here, you know, we have differing talents. We have some who can lead singing. We have some who cannot. Clearly, I'm sparing you. I will not even try as long as there is another believing brother in here. I will not try lead singing. Man's got to know his limitations. Okay? So, but in a bigger picture and in other more important applications, he was saying, let the humble glory in his exaltation. What exaltation would he be talking about for someone in their group, among that audience he's writing to? What was the exaltation for them? Yes, ma'am.
In God's eyes as a believer.
In God's eyes as a believer. Way up at the beginning of the chapter. All these things were to be considered as they faced these different trials. They were to be considered as an opportunity to achieve something, to rise to something, to experience something. We're going to see real closely in chapter 5. Anyway, let the lowly brother glory in his exaltation. I think if you go to Matthew 23, here we go again back to something Jesus said. Somebody want to go to Matthew 23 and 12.
And whosoever shall exalt himself shall be humbled, and whosoever shall humble himself shall be exalted.
All right. And we know from other passages and so on, the converse is true, and passages coming up, we see that that's true. Let the rich in his humiliation, because as a flower of the field, he will pass away. What's he saying about riches? Putting confidence in wishes we see elsewhere. Yes. Because, I'm sorry? You can't take him with you. Yeah, no hearse or no U-Haul behind a hearse. Yeah, okay. Don't put confidence, just go ahead.
God is above that, and we're all stewards. We're stewards of what we're given, and it's not ours. It's God's.
Okay, we are to be good stewards of what we have, but don't put confidence in. How did Jesus put it? You've got to choose between God and mammon. Thank you, Gary. Okay. All right. No sooner has the sun risen with a burning heat than it withers the grass, its flower fades, its beautiful appearance perishes, so the rich man also will fade away in his pursuits. Let's go to 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 24. You'll recall I told you that there are a lot of similarities between what James wrote and what Peter records. Somebody who has it, go ahead and read it.
And their glory is like the flowers of the field. The grass withers and the flowers fall, but the word of the Lord stands forever.
All right. So, talk about the benefit of riches. Oh, we don't have anybody with experience with riches. We are, okay.
Observation.
Yes.
It ends up, those with riches have an ability to help others.
Yes.
And I say ability, maybe it's more a responsibility to help others with whatever that need is.
Okay. And as we had pointed out, don't put all our confidence in those riches. They're going to go. For many who have great wealth, they lose it. You know, whether it's a bad investment or a tragedy, whatever, it's a fleeting thing. And he's saying that you need to count on something else, somebody else. Comment?
The wisdom writer in Proverbs 30, you probably had that, but he was expressing the danger of both riches and poverty.
Right.
And so he asked, God, deny me not these two things. Remove far from me falsehood and lies. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with the food that is needful for me, lest I be full and deny thee and say, who is Jehovah? Or lest I be poor and steal and use profanely the name of my God. Dangers on both sides of that equation.
Yep. Okay. So let's move on to the next verse, little group of verses. We're going to be talking about temptation. What's the difference in temptations and trials from this chapter, in the context of this chapter? The difference is?
The source.
The source. Okay, good. The trials we are to treat as opportunities to become better. The temptations we're going to treat as resist. I'm going to read a couple of verses here. Well, let's see, 3, 4. Okay, I'm going to let somebody else read. 12 through 15. Not Josh. All right, Tom.
Blessed is the man who perseveres under trial, for once he has been approved, he will receive the crown of life which the Lord has promised to those who love him. Let no one say when he is tempted, I am being tempted by God, for God cannot be tempted by evil, and he himself does not tempt anyone. But each one is tempted when he is carried away and enticed by his own lust. Then when lust has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and when sin is accomplished, it brings forth death.
Okay, first verse there, 12, is pretty much an overview statement. It's a statement of, shall we say, warning to them. You know, here, understand this. Blessed is the one who endures temptation, because there is this approval to be gained. So then,
Endures under trial. You said temptation. That verse says trial.
okay, and mine says temptation.
Does it?
I have to go back and look at the Greek and see which it really is.
So fun fact.
I'm sorry?
Same fun fact, the same Greek word gets translated both ways.
Ah, okay. So it's not the macrothumia or the, okay.
Same
Okay.
Greek word can be translated trial or temptation, depends on the context.
Okay. All right, so endure. We can get that much out of it. Endure. But he gets into this. Have you got an interlinear there that says what the word is in verse 13?
Yeah, but I kind of butcher it. It is purazo. And
Okay.
then in verse 12, it looks like just a different tense of the same word. Purasmos.
One's
Okay.
one's a- This one,
Now I said that. Do not take me as a Greek authority, and don't anybody ask me any more Greek questions.
Do we have a Greek authority here?
no, but I have an interlinear.
Okay. And,
The one in 13 is a verb, and let me go back to 12. It is a noun.
all right, whatever it is, look at the rest of verse 13. What does it say about it? He cannot be, whatever it is, tempted. We know God can try us, can test us, but he will not tempt us to evil. I'm sorry?
It's kind of from Satan.
Yeah, the temptations that we want to avoid. I still got time. We're going to look at 4 steps in this process, or 4 stages in this process of temptation here. And most of them you can see clearly in these verses. If you're keeping notes, you're going to have 4 plus 1 D words. The first one is desire. Sometimes in the Bible we will see it as, or we'll see the word lust. And immediately our thoughts turn to sexual things, and not necessarily so. Okay? Desire. I can desire, some other kind of car, a bigger house, whatever. I have some desire for something. The next one is deception. And I will convince myself I really deserve that. I really deserve to have a bigger house, nicer car, that kind of thing. And then there is design. I'm going to design a way, not necessarily legal and right and correct and proper. I'm going to design a way to get it. Anything happen like that in the Bible? Can we think of a time, a person or persons who went through those stages? David, and here we go with the physical attraction, the sexual lust. Look at this. How about Jezebel? Okay. Some others, Judas. Yeah. I'm sorry? Achan. You see, they're in there, those steps. And then there is, test here, what are the first 3? Desire. Very good. And you weren't even writing down, were you? All right. Desire, and then deception. Convince myself it's okay for me to do that. And then design, and then disobedience. Got them all, Molly? Did I give you time enough to get them in there? All right. Molly told me last week I needed to leave more space. So, what's the final? After the disobedience, those are the processes, the stages. What's the result? Death. Okay? Think about it. When you think about the things that you're tempted with, try to see, where is this going to lead me? All right, that took care of verse 13, some of up through 15. But let's talk about this. There's some interesting stuff. 13 is pretty self-explanatory, I think. It's not going to be coming from God. You good with that, Gary?
God allows us, going back to Job, to be tempted.
Right. But so far as...
He doesn't.
Okay.
Put it in our path.
Okay. Each one, verse 14, each one is tempted when he is drawn away by his own desires and enticed. Who's the lure tire in this crowd? Somebody ties fishing lures.
If Randy was here, I'd ask.
He is.
Randy, oh, Randall, sorry.
You were Randy for a long time. So go ahead, Gary, ask him.
How do you do it?
Well, you walk out in the river and you pick up a rock and you see what kind of bugs are underneath there, and then you make something that looks like that. With a magnifying glass and just a lot of dexterity.
The other one is Ryan Hall also is a good fly fisherman, and his daughters too.
Okay, what's the purpose of that lure?
It's a,
To what, to entice. Get that word, that's a good word here. Some of us might have been thinking, oh, to attract a fish. To entice. And we're talking about temptations that we face. It's not just attract. It goes deeper, to entice. All right, another application. We're going to give Cabela's and Bass Pro Shop some business here before this is over with. What do they have? Lures, Randall? I'll try to get it at least once.
Well, I guess the piece I would type for the handmade fly, it's a fake. This is what Satan does. He gives us fakes for what we really need, and it never delivers.
Go back to the first one. Garden of Eden. Serpent comes along. Has God told you such and such? And she added to her answer when you think about it. What had God told them? Do not eat. But what was her answer? Look at that sometime. Just think about it. Anyway, lost my train of thought for a minute. I do that sometime. All right, but what did he get? What did Satan offer her? Yeah. Yeah. You're going to be smart too. If you take a bite of that, you don't know what you're going to be exposed to know. Sounded pretty good. We're going to see something else in just a few verses that says, that's not necessarily so. Matter of fact, it is not so. Okay? So anyway, we could talk about temptation a lot. We could. The other part that, one of the other areas of specialty that you find at Cabela's and Bass Pro Shop has to do with hunting, or in some other way, capturing animals. You set a trap, what do you put in it? Bait. Something that you know that particular animal likes. So the Greek that comes along in here, the words have to do with drawing an animal away, that bait is so tempting. I think it's a word like exelco or something like that. But anyway, the bait is so tempting that the animal disregards anything it already knew about being careful and says, I want that. Is that what David did? Is that what other names that were thrown out here earlier? Disregard what we know is right, what we know is safe, what we know is proper. I want that. Okay? So next time you drive by Bass Pro Shop, or if you're up north and you see Cabela's, just think about it. It applies to temptation. This is a book about practical Christianity. It was written in a practical way. We should be able, this is one thing I really like about it. You look at it and you think about, oh, here is a practical demonstration of this. So let yourself go with some of these things. When you experience something, think about how James wrote. Don't just say, oh, boy, there's a traffic accident. Think about it. Yes, ma'am.
The thing with temptations and fate and wars is that we need to know God's truth, what is real, so that the fake does not entice us, so that the worldly things don't draw us in, because we know the real thing. We're not getting tempted by the people who exchange the truth of God for a lie. That can happen to us if we do not know God's truth and His promises and what is real in Him. Those temptations can be stronger because we don't know what the real thing looks like.
Good point. She has just covered for you verses 16 and 17. And now that she has, somebody read it. Who's going to be the somebody? Mickey, you haven't been the somebody yet. Go ahead.
I'll be somebody. Verse 16, be not deceived, my brethren, my beloved brethren. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom can be no variation, neither shadow that is cast by turning. Of His own will, He brought us forth by the word of truth, that we should be a kind of first fruits of His creatures.
All right. Got it? The note I made for myself along there, alongside is, things may look attractive and desirable, but every good and complete gift comes from God. But she said it so well. I'm going to give you a sneak peek at next week. Anybody know what that is?
Q-tip.
Q-tip. Next week, I'm going to tell you about the Q-tip. But I want you to go ahead and read and dig into the rest of chapter 1. But just think Q-tip. And we'll have a little discussion about a Q-tip. Okay, we still have 5 minutes. The sneak preview is out. Anybody else hearing bells? Oh, was that wasn't you? Okay. All right. Of His own will, you read that one. Do you care to comment on that one? 18.
Well, 16 I would.
Okay.
Be not deceived.
Yeah.
That occurs over and over and over and over again in the writings of the New Testament, which implies the great possibility of being deceived.
And who is the deceiver? Who is the liar? Who is the adversary? So be careful. Later on, you're going to see, as is elsewhere, draw near to God. Why draw near to God?
He's the giver of every good and perfect gift.
He does. All right. Let's see. Do a quick thought here, maybe. Opening, we'll probably come back to it next week, but what are we to be? Verse 19. Let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. The reason for the slow to wrath is in the next verse. The wrath of man does not produce the righteousness of God. 3 things. Somebody in this audience not long ago said, we got 2 ears and 1 mouth. That should tell us something. Okay, I've heard that over and over. I know I have. Slow to speak, quick to hear, and slow to wrath. How many of us have missed part of that and gotten in a jam because of it? Gary?
Don't you think that relates back to patience also?
Certainly. To patience and long suffering. Yeah, Another term out there that speaking against it, that describes what we're not supposed to be is fly off the. Might know some other similar things, but practical living here, as written by James, is teaching us, is showing us, be patient, be long-suffering. Patient with people, long-suffering with the circumstances. Be patient. Don't just say the first thing that comes into your mind sometimes. Have I been guilty of it? Both hands up, of course. And I expect most of you have. At some point or other, something or somebody has hit you in such a way that, but you let it go. How many relationships do you think get ruined because of a quick response? A lot of them. Because one of the fundamental necessary things for there to be a good relationship is communication. And if you mess up that communication because of temper getting away, somebody said, the temper's a good thing to have, so hold on to it. Okay? Hold that temper. Hold that outburst. Don't let it happen. Things we can control, we can control. So, slow to speak, quick to hear. Hear the rest of what they have to say. A lot of times those outbursts cut somebody off. And you hear as, I'm sure I'm not the only one, let me finish. Let me finish. And we're almost finished with class. So, think about the Q-tip. Read the rest of the chapter. Start into chapter 2. Might not get into chapter 2, but we will wrap up this one. Yep, we're done for the day, for the morning here, the class.